All right, so this, and it doesn't take you through everything, but it is a good chunk of stuff. Like this is like, obviously it has all the matrices things. It has all the systems of equations. On your test, you're also gonna get asked a graph question. You're also gonna get a word problem. Those, I would say you can practice with the PDF review that we posted. So the first side, most of you did really well here. -5, -18 was the first one, and then -9/5 and -42/5. If you did make a mistake, it was sign related, so just be really, really careful. You guys are smart kids. You know how to do these things by now. If you make a mistake, it's usually something silly. So hopefully you get time to go back and check them. Remember, you can plug each of these in. I wouldn't do that till you get to the very end, but if you do have the time to do that, you can go back and plug them in and make sure they work. If you just gotta be really, really careful. This was 3. Again, most of you did well on these 2. 3 was 15, -2, and then 4 was your 3x3. There's going to be one 3x3. These obviously take a little bit longer. This one wasn't so bad because you didn't even have to change. You could just combine 1 and 2, which is what a lot of you did. And the new one was 2x plus 6y equals 8, and then you could combine 2 and 3. 3x plus 6z equals 3, and then used both of those. And all I did was multiply the bottom one by a negative so that the z's cancel. They may not all be this easy. You might have to change it a little bit more than that, but you've got the, like, going through the motions of it. And then once you get your first variable, you're going to take and plug it back in. It has to go to one of the new ones. I plugged it back into new 1. And then I got the second one, which was z. And then you have to plug those 2 back into one of the original ones. I plugged it back into like the very first one, and I got the last variable. Make sure you're giving me your answers in coordinate point form. Don't make me go hunting for them. On each question, there's literally a line for you to put your answer. You got to put your answer, you got to put it in coordinate point form there. 5 was 2 answers if you solved. So this one, in my opinion, I would have just done substitution because the bottom was already set up for y. So it says y equals. I took what y equals and I plugged it in the place of y in that one above it. And then combine your like terms and you end up with an x squared and an x. As soon as you see that squared and the x, you know you're going to have to factor. I factored it out. I got x was 6 and x was 5, and then plugged them back in individually to get their matching y's. 6 was your x, y one. So we took I solved for x. I isolated the x by dividing both sides by y, and then I took that and I plugged it back in. You got to get the variable out of the denominator, so I multiplied everything by y, and then you get a y squared and a y, get everything to one side, factor, and you got -8 and -9 for the y. Took those, plugged them back in, and I got the opposites for the x. So again, 2 coordinate points. 7 was your matrices. This was the first one was multiplying. This was a 3x3 and a 3x1. So because the middle 2 matched, you could do it. The outer 2 was the dimensions. It's not going to give you a box. Like, it's going to be a blank line. So you're going to have to figure out your dimensions. And then I multiplied row 1 and column 1, row 2 and column 1, row 3 and column 1. My advice is when you do this one from your review, you do it on paper, because it's going to be a different experience and it's easier to do on Notability because we circle and we highlight and we do all the colors, and obviously that doesn't happen on your test. So when you get to the multiplication matrices, I would strongly advise that you do it on a piece of paper. B was your scalar multiple. Be careful there. Just make sure you distribute. And then C is not possible. So if it had said 2A plus B, guaranteed most of you would start by multiplying in the 2 on the A, and then you would go to add them, and they had different dimensions. So make sure you try to do a step ahead and see, can you even add before you get to that step? They were different dimensions, so it wasn't possible. Yeah?
How do you find the dimensions?
The number of rows, so we're counting left to right. So this would be row, different color. Row 1, row 2, row 3. That's the first number. And then columns top to bottom, 2, 3. Oh, for multiplying? So the inner 2 have to match. The outer 2 are what the dimensions of the product would be.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And then the last 2, these were your squared. So this is your nonlinear. The first time around we did these, we did them with substitution, and I think it's way easier to do elimination. So if you haven't tried elimination, try that now. For 8, I solved for x. I got plus and minus 2, which means I have to plug in both positive and negative 2. When you plugged in positive 2, you got 2 answers. So 2, -3, and 2, 3 should have been a solution. And then when you plug in -2, you also get 2 answers. So that means there's 4 total solutions here. All 4 of them have to be part of your solution set. And then same with 9. Okay, I canceled out the x's, and I got y is plus and minus 5. Take that plus and minus, plug it back in, and you got 0 for both. So there's only 2 coordinate points there. If you think about it, I mean, one's a hyperbola and an ellipse, and one's a circle and ellipse. They can intersect twice. They can intersect not at all, but on the one on the left, they intersect 4 times, and on the one on the right, it was twice. Questions for me? I would say try not to use a calculator when you're doing your review. I know it's tedious. I know you like to use it for silly stuff just to help you with speed and accuracy, but you're not going to have it on your test. So try not to do it. The PDF is posted. The solutions are there but not worked out. I'll try to do that by the end of the day, but the solutions at least are there so you can be checking as you're going. The goal would be to complete that before you come in tomorrow so you know what you know and don't know, and you can ask your questions. Yeah?
For the graphing one, are we going to have anything that's not linear?
No. That's a pre-calc. We'll save that. All right, I put in the notes on the directions of the assignment. I think I'd put 12 and 13, like try to do those graphing. Those are the ones that wouldn't be awful to do graphing, so at least you get the practice.